Good morning from Virginia City, Nevada, at day 3 of the Nevada Off-Road Association's annual summit here at Piper's Opera House in Virginia City, Nevada. We are live. We are moments away from our Thursday morning session. This is session number four. This afternoon, we are going out on a trail ride to a spot to look at some petroglyphs. So stick around. We'll be starting in just a few moments. those of you hanging in there, just stick around. We will be beginning our presentation at 9 a.m. They decided to hold off a little bit. Everybody was on a 9 o'clock schedule, and so we're waiting for some more folks to come in. So if you're on and watching this, just stick around. We will be going live begin presenting at 9 a.m.
We're going to go ahead and get going here about 9 o'clock or so. So grab some coffee, have a snack. We're going to get it. Put it in your calendar, in your Rolodex, Ken. So there you go. got about 5 minutes and we're going to get going here.
All right, as we're getting closer here to the start of the morning session, it was scheduled to start at 8:30. Everything started at 9 yesterday, so they decided to wait. Everybody was on the 9 o'clock time schedule apparently, so we waited and room filled up some. So we're about to get started. Day 3, session number 4 of the Nevada Off-Road Association's annual summit. It's been 3 great sessions, a lot of information. If you didn't catch any of the sessions, go back to Desert Riders, Desert Racing Pit Stop and review them. Good rule of thumb is if you're at work and you got that playing in the background, if something piques your interest, write down the time, make it easier for you to find it if you go back and look for it. It's been fun. We're going to be this morning's session, and then after that, we're going to be doing a ride out to some petroglyphs. I can't wait. And I'll be doing taking the GoPros and taking the camera out there with me, and I'll be posting that on desertrider.com. So here we are, about ready to get started, and I will turn it back over to Matthew.
If we could get Commissioner Ravago to find a seat. All right, good morning, everybody. I know everybody's been here before, and we've been through this before, but one more time. Fire exits here and here. The stairway that you came up, don't use the elevator unless you absolutely have to during the fire. If you're gonna smoke, do it out on the street. Don't even do it out there. And the other side, that goes for vaping as well. We are in an antique building. If it goes poof, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable for our insurance company. So there's that. All right, a couple other admin things. Show of hands. Who needs a seat for today's trail ride? I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. 10. Alexis. Oh, so we have 10, so we're good for seats? We're good for seats. Pretty neat. We have one other person who I know is going to go that's not in the room, so we're actually at 11, but yeah, I think we have 15 or 14 seats, so yay. Yes. Yeah, kind of a cool gig. Let's go ahead and do something that I could have probably done the first day, but, you know, welcome aboard. Hey, John, you want to come up? John Smith, if that's your real name. Also known as Desert Rider, runs a YouTube channel, and he's who we're using for our video today for this week. It's kind of a really nice segue. He does a lot of video work for different racing and some of the other outdoor events. Hold on, if you need a, hold on, are you? And then you can go over to the browser and Desert Ride and all that other stuff. So anyway, I'm going to turn the microphone over to John. He's been very gracious with his time and equipment. He is a fixture in the motorized off-road community. If you are doing events and races and whatever, good chance you're going to see him there, at least as a spectator, if not actually doing the audio and video. So, John, thank you very much for coming on board, and I'm looking forward to continued working together with you as we move ahead. So, I'll give you a little bit of time and talk about it, and then move on.
Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. I'm Jonathan Smith. I am Desert Rider. That's what I prefer, as I have retired now and I need to escape the persona of John Smith. Obvious reasons. I was born in California. Don't hold that against me, but I am a Nevada. I grew up here in Nevada. I grew up in a ghost town some of you may know of. It's called Stillwater, and that is outside Fallon. I grew up in Stillwater on a road called Honker Lane. Stillwater is a Stillwater Wildlife Refuge, and if you've never been to Stillwater, especially in the late afternoon, you will notice a black sky all summer long. It's either mosquitoes or it's geese, and there are thousands of geese that come through. Nevada is in my blood. As I said, I grew up here. I spent some time in California during my 20s, developed an alcohol problem, been sober for 33 years now. And thank you. That is an accomplishment, trust me. But I got a career there, and I came back to Nevada, which is home, and I've been around here now since 80-something, and I graduated from Churchill County High School. But what I do now, I started out a few years ago as just going out in my side-by-side and doing video stuff and putting it on my Facebook channel, and a friend of mine back in Chicago has an autistic son, and he loved some of the videos. So I started doing videos called Adventures for Max on Facebook. And a lot of people, especially my relatives, loved the adventures. And he was going out to these mining sites and looking at the ruins and talking about the ruins. And then I'm also a huge off-road racing fan and have missed it for a number of years and got into it. And since I turned 50 and got back into off-roading. A lot of the folks know me from being out on the race course in the middle of absolutely nowhere and watching the race. I've been doing it for years, and I started doing trail cams on the course, try to get some pictures out to the racers. They all started recognizing the side-by-side, a couple of generations and stuff. And I'd come back into the pit area, and they would thank me for being out on the race course. It's an inspiration for them when somebody's out there all day long, encouraging them to race. Well, COVID hit. We all know how that is. And I became retired due to COVID, and thank you, Harley Davidson, where I had a career there. And I've been retired for a couple of years now. I am a nomad. I sold everything off. And unfortunately, in today's society, you have to have a home someplace for driver's licenses and stuff like that. So my home base is my sister's house in Carson City. And but I travel pretty much all the time. I winter down in Bullhead City and try to do some adventures down there, and then catch off-road racing during the winter time and get up here in April and do all of the Aura races, as many as I can, and so forth. But during the travels, I ran across this incredible thing called Starlink. And since I am a nomad now, it was a perfect fit for me. And my background being in what it was, I have to tell you, I once actually spent some time in the sheriff's jail here in Virginia City about 30 years ago. No, I don't have a criminal record. I did surveillance video cameras for a company here for a number of years. And I spent a lot of time in a lot of these prisons and holding cells. Tonopah has a very big unit up there. So I did a lot of camera work, and it kind of moved into what I'm doing now. I purchased some cameras and the equipment to do live stream, and I usually use 2 or 3 cameras and the computer. Now with the technology of live stream, they're putting them in the race cars and stuff. And I go out, this year I started in the beginning of the year at Parker in February, and then did the Frontier race. I was at race mile 125, which was 15 miles southeast of Goldfield, in the middle of the Joshua trees, alongside of the race course, with about a 5-mile view, and I live streamed from there the race for 5 hours as race cars and motorcycles came through. Is that freaking amazing or what? Huh? So, I mean, that kind of stuff is really what I'm about. And this summer when I've been up here, I tried to start producing some stuff, getting out in the community. I'm self-funded. I've got my website up. I'm trying to sell some advertising space to help get out to these events. But I'm offering up my services to you to come to any of your events and either do live stream or do a series on it, to post it on the website, either at desertrider.com. My live stream is all on Desert Riders, Desert Racing Pit Stop. All that stuff is going to be on there for about a year or so, and then we'll transition it off. I'm happy to do this. This is information that is crucial to Nevada. This is my state. This is my background. This is my playground. Don't mess with it. It's here for all of us to enjoy. You to destroying it is not allowing us to enjoy it. And I'm very adamant about that. And I'm proud to say that I am an ambassador, and I am now going to be referred to as Ambassador Desert Rider as I go out and I preach the gospel about preservation and responsibility, because it's what it is. We need to go out and preserve everything that we have out there, whether it's natural or man-made. And I'm adamant about it, and I'm happy to help your service organizations as much as possible. I don't charge anything, but I'm retired. I need some supplemental income. If you can put it in your budgets for next year, happy to come out and do your events. What am I talking about? So this year, I did a couple of races I was planning to, I didn't get to, but I got a hold of Fallon, and I did the Southwest Regional Cal Ripken 11U tournament in Fallon, my hometown, the ballpark that I grew up playing on when I was 12 years old, and I broadcast 23 games there, free of charge, as my contribution back to my community. And I had people watching from Germany, Hawaii, Texas, and Mexico. And I didn't realize the reach that I had with those folks and family members just wanting to watch their kids play. I did the parade at the 4th of July parade, and the response was absolutely phenomenal. So if you're thinking about it, check me out, send me an email, mydesertrider@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to talk with you and set up for next year. Hoping to do some races up here in BC, an area like that. Not all races. I'll do whatever you guys have coming from me. I'm happy to help out. Check out the website, and let's preserve Nevada.
Like anything else? I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
You might want to mention too that this entire thing is going to be available afterwards if people want to refer back to
Yep. Yeah, so we have been live streaming. It's going to be on YouTube as well. We will download copies and have it on our YouTube page filed there. We're very much into protecting the people that help us, so we're not going to push the work that he's doing, but we will link to it directly in our newsletters and everything else. But John said something really, really cool. So Megan says that Dave's here, Laura's here. Do we have anybody else from the race community here? Even like motorcycle racing or what have you? So he said one of the coolest things, period. Standing out in the middle of the desert, 20 miles from pavement, and all of a sudden, people walk up and say, "What are you doing?" "I'm watching a race." Race volunteers get the best seats. Race promoters do not put you in a place that is boring. They put you in a place, usually for 3 reasons. 1, you're crossing a road. 2, there might be an obstacle or some sort of difficult terrain or whatever, where there might be an issue with a racer. And the other one is for keeping spectators out that might be crossing, coming out of unaware of the event. All those places are really, really good places to watch a race. So if you have not, and if you're interested and have the time, volunteer for a race. I don't care if it's a motocross race at your local track, fairgrounds race, none of that makes a difference, but volunteerism is what actually allows our sport, recreational work, to go on. It just does. So thank you, John. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for the racing. And we've already got a commitment for him should we be funded for 2025 for our 2025 Off-Road Summit, which is going to be our away game. And tentatively, we're looking at Elko County so that we can highlight the project up there that Jeff's team did. So that'll be kind of cool. We'll be working on that over the next probably 90 days to solidify the dates and what have you and get that out. We're going to do our best to make sure it doesn't conflict with any other gigantic OHV-ish style event, so which this time of year is nearly impossible, but we'll do our best. All right, any other questions on that? Or if not, we can start moving on. I'd like to say this is what we've been waiting for, but I'll instead give you an apology up front. All right, as everybody knows, my name is Matthew Gilder. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Off-Road Association. We've been doing this under this flag for about 3.5 years. Prior work running back about 6-8 years to get it to where we are today. Associate Director, Alexis Nelson. Yay, Alexis. Again, Alexis put this together. I told her this morning I couldn't be happier with the results, the participation. She did an amazing job, and you should all thank her. To be clear, I did absolutely nothing. All right, just so you know. All right, the Nevada Off-Road Association. We are advocating and supporting the Nevada community of motorized outdoor recreational enthusiasts and organizations in public lands access and use. This will be accomplished through the utilization of education, awareness, advocacy to facilitate partnerships amongst and between public lands managers, state, county, and municipal stakeholders, and the off-road enthusiasts for the promotion and expansion of recreational off-road opportunities. Those of us that are old enough will get this joke. A trail for an equestrian and a trail for a buggy don't need to be the same trail. Separate but equal is okay. There's only about 1/3 of the people here that understand that reference, so just so you know. Why does this matter? Obviously it matters because we don't want to have conflict in use. We want to make sure we can continue to use our public lands. I would take, I don't want to say issue with, but there's a heightened concern sometimes about when do you need to contact the land manager and when you don't. Casual use is, generally speaking, unless you think you're going to be in an area that's sensitive, you're good to go. It's when you start doing commercial or competitive or wherever it doesn't. This is where it gets to be fun. Every year, the Bureau of Economic Analysis does a look at the outdoor recreation industry and how much money it puts into individual accounts. In this case, it's a satellite account for Nevada. How much money does it put into the Nevada economy? They are saying, they being the federal government, the RVing side puts $318 million a year into the Nevada economy. That's not just buying the equipment, that's fuel and all this, the ancillary that goes with it, the widgets and what have you. Motorcycle and ATV, $95 million a year. Some people right now are going, well, that's, yeah, because there's a lot of Harleys on the street. Anybody here see Jeeps listed? No. That means that that's a recreation vehicle. It's not tooling down the highway with your buddies on a street bike. That's race motorcycles. That's the casual desert riders. No relation. And if we take a look at it, industry-wide, 21% of the RVs made are toy haulers. That means we get to choose to add 5% or 21% rather of that 318 million to the off-road community. That's an off-road value that's not being captured. Snow activities, the way BEA does this is really problematic. They literally count going and watching a high school football game as outdoor recreation, as a spectator. I don't get it, but that's just the way they do it. And amusement parks too, the same way. So I'm comfortable claiming 3.2 million, 5% of the snow activity number, right there, that's 63 million. And then of course that 95 million that they're already accounting for us. What's not captured here for motorized off-road recreation is the big iron, the Jeeps. Between 40 and 50% of motor vehicles sold every year in the United States are four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. 20% of those, this based on the Nevada sales of roughly 165,000 units sold new every year, I'm going to assume that half of that, and then 20% of that, actually see the dirt. The rest just cruise around Las Vegas looking cool maybe like, lowering a little bit with some lights. So we're going to take $750 million and claim that for motorized off-road rec. The unregistered motorcycles and UTVs, this is trying to pick up Jello with a fork, right? We have about $8.5 million based on 10% of that $95 million. Why I say it's a moving target is unregistered doesn't necessarily mean that they're violating the law. Farmers, for example, don't need to do it. Fire departments, police departments, Bureau of Land Management, they don't need to get a rec sticker on their vehicles. There are exemptions. You know who else it doesn't include? That's right, race vehicles. Competition vehicles don't need to have a rec sticker, so they're not accounted for either. Races, jamborees, and so on. This is one of my favorite numbers. $45 million a year into the Nevada economy. I know what a race like Bora does because we did an economics survey for a race down in Hawthorne. Brings in about $200,000 for a one-day race. This $45 million? All right, race community, put your fingers in your ears because I don't want you laughing too loud. It's because the Mint 400 claims that they do $30 million a year. They don't. They absolutely don't. But that's what they claim. Marketing is what it is. So those are kind of like guesstimates, but I'm really, really generous. So we'll get to that in a minute. If you total up everything in those two columns, just under $1 billion every year for motorized off-road recreation in Nevada. But like I said, I'm generous. Let's change those numbers. Let's cut those all in half, because I'm guessing. I'm taking an educated guess by my experience, so we're going to cut them in half. What's that bring us to? $566 billion, million every year to the state of Nevada. That's not bad. We'll take it. I'll wait till Ken takes this picture. Everybody needs a foil. So again, why does this matter, right? This is a projection of the power sports industry over the next 10 years. Starting in 2003, $37.8 billion nationwide. It increases about in this prediction, about 9.45%. So where are our math people? Anybody know what the formula is there? Compounding interest. Using that number and inserting our 5.66 million, here it is in the next 10 years. Actually, the next 9 years. 10 years, we're looking at $1.45 billion to the Nevada economy. But you know something else? That's 2023 dollars. That's what it's going to be in 10 years. Just under $2 billion. Now, what I did is I took 10 years, looking back 10 years, and based the numbers on inflation, cost of living, and so on, and then projected it forward. So we all know it's going to change somewhat. It could go either way. We don't know. It's a ridiculous amount of money to the state of Nevada. The question was whether we considered electric vehicles as a separate category, and we don't. It's just a classification of use. Where are my land managers? I see Dan back there, I see Paul back there. Anybody else? Tammy? Show of hands. How many people have read this book? Anybody who is in public lands employment? Anybody who is an advocate for public land use? Anybody who's interested in the broader picture of what happens in Nevada, go buy this damn book. And if you don't want to buy it, because you don't want to drop the $30K or $30 to buy it, send me a note. I'll buy it for you. There are about a half a dozen copies of this floating around the Bureau of Land Management and Forest Service that we've bought and put into the hands of the land managers. What is fascinating about this book is it's not preaching. It's not BLM bad, Forest Service good, property or county commission bad, none of that. It's a very well-written articulation of how we landed where we are here in Nevada and the confrontation that we have with everybody who is a stakeholder in public lands. Ranchers, land managers, county governments, you name it. I'm not positive. It seems to me that Mr. Skillen was a reporter for the Reno Gazette, and I'm thinking I'm going to reach out to him and see if he can do our summit next year. It'd be freaking amazing. So it's because I'm pimping it. Everybody else just bought one, and you were slow. So anyway, we work with partners, obviously, and the partners are, well, pretty self-explanatory. We have a very good relationship with our federal delegation, our state delegation, the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicle Commission. The Off-Highway Vehicle Commission is who we report to, theoretically. Anyway, and the little signpost on the bottom is exactly what we do. We talked about this yesterday during the SRP thing. Come to us. We're the subject matter experts, and if we're not, we know who it is, and we can get it. We'll get you the answer that you need to get you across the finish line. And that works both ways. I was talking to somebody helped me, Kim, her last name, new #2 at state. Yes. So talking to her, and it's like our whole goal is to get the land managers and the recreation community across the finish line. And we want to do it politely and working together. And again, that constant messaging throughout. So those are our partners that everybody kind of knows about here. We have some other partners though, and kind of hard to nominate them all and recognize them all. So I just thought I'd just list a few of them. These are people who, I don't even have a Rolodex, they're my cell phone. This is who we work with day in and day out. If you look closely, the bail and field offices are listed in there too, just so you know. You just can't read fast. Who's this? That's right, King Sisyphus. Everybody know the story behind Sisyphus? Sisyphus was the king of Corinth, city back, we're talking Greek times, right? Sisyphus is the anti-hero of anti-heroes, but he's my personal hero, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Cheats death a couple times. I'm going to actually do a Spaceballs reference here in a minute. Cheats death a couple times. One of the times he had basically ratted out the location of Asclepius' daughter. Zeus is really, really angry, so Zeus sends him to the underworld to be, executed. He gets to the underworld, he meets Hades, and Hades says, "Hey, welcome aboard, got to chain you up." And Sisyphus goes, "Chain me up? What are you talking about?" "Well, no, you're here in the underworld, it's time, I'm going to chain you up." Sisyphus goes, "Doesn't really make any sense. Tell you what, let's chain you up, show me what you're talking about, because I don't get it." So Hades is like, "Sure, go ahead." Chains him up, Sisyphus is like, "See ya," walks out. And every time I think about that, all I can think of is when in Spaceballs, when Rick Moranis' character, Big Helmet, goes up to what's it? Preston, Star. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, and he's like, "Here, let me see the. I'm not gonna get the ring of Schwartz, but thanks anyway." Shake your hand, and he pulls the ring off of him, and he's like, "I can't believe you fell for that. That's the oldest trick in the book." That's Sisyphus and Hades. So anyway, Matthew has the Sisyphusian scale of problems. Problem solving. Level 0. Maybe that's the first time we found out about something. Or it's just been something that we've known about, but we're really not too concerned. Then we get a little bit of concern, maybe some reports, maybe we get contacted by the county or the state or the feds or whoever, or a user. And that's something you really need to look into. And then we start the process right around here. And ideally it keeps on going up, and then you can see all the way over there at level 5, starting with 0 to level 5. Level 5, we've actually got the boulder off the hill. What's fascinating is how it's not linear. This doesn't happen straight. We may get here 4, 5, 6, 7 times and have the ball roll all the way back and have to start again and again. It's just the nature of dealing with the government, the nature of dealing with, politics being what it is. Everything changes, people rotate, people move on. So what we do is be that constant throughout. So Where's this, Dan? This is Johnson Lane, Nevada, Pine Knots. Take a look at, and this is going to be a question for Rayette here in a minute. Main road kind of goes in here. You can see this is a lighter area, that's a gravel pit. This is a gravel pit. These are currently under the contractors, or however you want to phrase it, to NDOT for gravel for the highways. Here you go, Ray. What are all these little dots? I'm going to go to Dan for the answer. See these little dots here? Those are prospect management sites. This is an old mine. So in order to maintain their claim, they had to do prospecting holes to prove that they've been working the land, when all they really should have done is like, yeah, we're still interested. In my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, BLM team, they don't require you to actually put a shovel in the ground. You can just maintain it electronically now. Kind of a good thing, better for the environment. So, 1994. Not bad. On our Sisyphean scale, 1994, we kind of know the problem. You have a little bit of use here. These straight lines, those are hill climbs. Hill climbs are a problem because they're a fall line. When it rains, water goes straight down, doesn't have any water bars, it erodes a little bit faster. If you look over in here, you can see a little bit of a user-generated trail. But this is 1994, which means this is just motorcycles and maybe quads. The Razor came out in 2003, so this is before that. And again, BLM, feel free to correct me. The Carson District Office Resource Management Plans 2001.
Consolidated to 2001 and consolidated to 1980 plans together.
Okay, right. So basically, 2001, the resource management plan had not been completed because this is 5 years prior, 6 years prior. You know what happens when you have that much of a lag? When that new equipment comes out? Looks like that now. Isn't that frightening? That's 2024, 1994, 30 years. And this is a problem now. Of course, I think there's a lot of things fascinating about it, but all the prospect holes now have been reclaimed or driven over and turned into trails. All this is user-generated trails. This one line up here is the power line, so that's the right of way that's always going to be there. The rest of this was created by our community. This is not a dig at the BLM, it really, really isn't. This is what resource management and travel management is designed to eliminate. Because resource management plans are political documents, I say this every year, if you have somebody in the executive office that wants to protect the red-feathered tree slug, you're going to get resource management plans that protect the red-feathered tree slug. If you have somebody in the executive office that wants more drilling and more mining, you're going to get RMPs that are based on extraction in the industry. It just is. But we think that we might be turning the corner on this exact area because there's a mine going in, and part of that, our support of the mine was not of the mine because we remain neutral, but was to move the de facto staging area, which is right here, to somewhere up in here. We can see it. We're almost there. But we're actually back there. Until that resource management plan, or I'm sorry, that NEPA is done for the mine and it's all approved and all the lawsuits are done, because there's a few, we're back down here just kind of cringing, waiting for the next step. And the ball may go up and down the hill a couple times. Okay, another BLM, Sisyphean problem solving. This summer, the Bureau of Land Management did a outdoor rec survey. They held all these meetings around the state. We at the association found out about it that far into the process. What had happened was the state office delegated to the field offices and district offices to reach out to their stakeholders and make sure they knew about it. There was a lot of opportunity to do it better. When we found out about it, we immediately reached out to our community and got them somewhat exercised, because this is 100% about protecting your access as you move forward. The decisions that are going to be based on some of the data that was collected during these is going to go into future resource management and travel management plans maybe even special recreational areas and so on. It's a pretty big deal. I was pissed. Why? Because we just found out about it, and I found out about it because I subscribed to every single community newsletter that I can get my brain around, and it happened to be listed on an agenda item. There were words said. But why are we that far up on the sophistication scale? Because the Bureau of Land Management is planning something. That makes this happen. Even if this is just the preliminary part, the data collection is still a good thing. Rollout, we'll make it better next time. And we're going to help them make it better next time if the opportunity arises. Then I sat through, I think I did 18 of these meetings. Even though it says you only need to do one, I did 18. I have 14 and a half pages of notes. We have one item which is actually critical that we're in the very early stages to fix because people's lives are literally in danger. And we're going to fix it. I promise. I don't know how, but we're going to fix it. That's where the ball is now. Because by the end of this process and meeting the two moderators, and one of them, by the way, got a copy of the book, This Land is My Land, just saying. Amazing. They did an amazing job. The data they collected was really nice. The only reason that we're not at level 5 up and over the hill, I'm going to wait until they publish their results, because I know what was said verbally, because I kept track. I don't know what was written, but what was said verbally and recorded better be in their end report, because if it's not, then we're going to be back down to 0. This is not going to add value, but I think it's good. I'm optimistic and hopeful, which rarely do I do at the same time. All right, another Sisyphean level of problem solving. All types of off-highway vehicles are prohibited. Where I kind of host up on this is that line right there in the middle. Also says those that are approved for street use, which means if you have an adventure bike, you're not allowed to drive your adventure bike, which is a street legal motorcycle, on this road. These roads are at a federal land management area in Nevada, and it is between a county road and the Forest Service. There's this one section of a different agency, and what they have done is pounded these signs in saying no OHVs may be on this, in some instances 25 yards of our road, in other instances maybe 500 yards or what have you. And the manager of this particular facility told us straight up, no, if you want to get to the Forest Service land from the county road, you need to take your buggy, put it on a trailer, drive it across, and then unload it. So Laura, on behalf of Tread Lightly, and I went up and met with the manager up there, and there was a whole lot of no. We didn't really like that very much. So I'm going to walk through the process exactly what happened on this one. Again, level 0 concern. Get some calls from some local recreational folks. They came to us and said, hey, these signs just appeared over the last few months. Doesn't seem right. Okay, so then we start doing some data collection. Moving up a little bit. Makes sense. Okay, we see it. Yep, they're there. I think we when Laura and I went up there, I think we counted 800 or 900 of these signs, in a 12-mile or 13-mile light. They literally had them on both sides. As a matter of fact, this sign back there, that's the back of the land. That's the rear boundary. This is the front boundary. Not very far. Okay, so we collected data. We met with the land manager. The land manager was adamant. Nope, they're staying. Nope, they're staying. Your community, off-road, a bunch of jerks, they're staying. Our solution, let's go ahead and do some education. The land manager dug in even more. The land manager figured this is all going to go her way. It didn't. We reached out to our partners at Forest Service, making sure that they were okay with the use of the MVM approved routes and roads on the boundary between the two. We reached out to the county, their rec people. The county there has a very robust OHV map, some of which this particular facility says that you can't ride on, even though they're county roads. My favorite. You're not going to tell me what I know? I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it one way or the other. Usually, and anybody here ever testified like in a federal trial, like a real serious trial? All right. Let me tell you this, when you do, and the attorney is asking you a question, he already knows the answer. By the time we do a FOIA or public records request, we already know the answer too. We just need it in confirmation in writing. So we did a FOIA. 800 signs put in. Guess what policy they didn't file or didn't follow? NEPA. They didn't even do any environmental evaluation whatsoever to pound these signs in. They said, oh, it's okay, they're all maintenance signs right next to the road. Some of them are, not all of them. That one in the back certainly isn't. That's 50 yards off the road and pointing in this instance northwest. Still have to do NEPA. And it could be something as simple as, yeah, it's not a problem. However, this particular facility, this is the north boundary. Even on their website, they tell us the northern part of our facility has plenty of artifacts for indicating prehistoric habitation of the area. So that alone would have probably spiked the NEPA. They wouldn't have been able to put the signs there. They would have come up with a different solution, or maybe even do very specific locations. It could have been done, but they just figured no one would know. We knew. We threw her a life ring. We threw the manager a life ring. We will come in with our community, the off-road clubs up there, our partners. We'll pull the signs down. We'll put in some education signs. Slow down, watch your dust, things like that. We will make it so that it has the least impact and still meets our needs. Incidentally, this is also considered blocking a trail, blocking access to public land in Nevada, which is criminal mischief under the NRS. Signed in, a bill that was signed in by the last governor, Sisolak, that was forwarded and championed by now DCNR Chief James Settler. So, yeah. We pointed that out to the manager too. She didn't care. She was bulletproof, she thought. She refused again. We've already done this twice, and then 3 times. We're here to help you. We're here to help you. We now have all the information. Now, the fascinating thing about this is right about this time when she's refusing a second time, we already knew that they didn't do NEPA, but now we had no record of it. In this time frame, it's about 2 weeks, I get a phone or an email from the FOIA officer from this particular agency, and he goes, you know what? The last facility manager was just in my office. We got talking about this. They never did NEPA, and they put it in writing. Hello, Office of the Inspector General. My name is Matthew Gilman from the Nevada Off-Road Association. I'd like to talk to you about a violation of NEPA. Ka-ching. Here's the action part. She complied, pulled all the signs down. Problem solved. Took over a year to do. Everybody assumes once it's off their plate, once they don't have us badgering them anymore, it's over. It's not over. We're thorough. We won. And here's what's really funny. This is where it's going to go. This is where I think it's really funny. Anyway, we went back and verified. We were up there for Jeff's motocross grand opening. We went up and we went and verified them on that trip, and they were all gone. So we were happy. Everybody wants to know what else we do, right, Ken? Ken caught me off guard during meetings. What do you do in a normal day? I'm like, So, but we do. We spend a lot of time, on the permitting stuff that we talked about yesterday. Land use NEPA. We comment on NEPA like more than you would ever know. We read every single NEPA document that's published, not necessarily in depth. The perfect example is Verizon wants to renew their right-of-way for a cell tower or something like that. I will read that long enough to see if there's any decommissioning of the access road, but that's it. I'm not going to submit comments. I don't particularly care if they get the right of way or not. I just want to make sure they're still going to be there, and if it's not going to be there, I want to know so that we can, lean into that. Same thing with some of the geothermal plants and those. Just want to make sure that if we need to get around them, we can. We believe in partnering early with industry. That's why we had the solar guys here yesterday. If the example I like to use is if you have a solar field that's shaped like a football field, right? If you turn it 90 degrees, it's wider than it is tall. If you the other way, it's taller than wide. Sometimes that's all it takes to make the off-road community happy, because there's already a trail in place. And if they don't want to put a trail around their perimeter, we're okay with that. We'll build our own upwind. Like I said before, they'll be squeegeeing solar panels day in, day out. We also work on club support. We have incorporated 2 different clubs in the last 2 years as Nevada nonprofits. We help with filing your 501c3, writing your bylaws, whatever the case may be. Grants, requests, and support. And I'm going to drop down a little bit here to the Nevada Trail Stewardship Trail Trust funding as well. We wrote Alexis, wrote a grant request to Fox Factory Trail Trust, and we received $15,000, right? And of that $15,000, we turned around and gave more than $11,000 to the clubs. We didn't even keep the money. We gave one to Dunes and Trails for their cleanup. Rayette got some coin for some cleanup that's coming up soon. Outdoor School got some money. It's not that we don't need the funding, far from it, but for Rayette, for example, or Dunes and Trails to write a grant for $1,000 is not worth the time and energy for that community to do it. So what we do is we try to make sure that when we can get funding from industry, right back out to the clubs. We're not buying ourselves big fancy pink Cadillacs. We also do the youth helmet and obviously Off-Road Summit. The Train the Trainer, we actually train the federal government employees how to be instructors for off-road vehicles. I'm a master OHV instructor, and what we do is we take our team and we use the Outdoor Schools curriculum and we fine-tune it a little bit more to the adult professional versus children, and we certify them to train their own people. We're not training the end user because we have enough exposure. I don't feel like being sued by somebody's kid, right? That's why we don't treat the end user, but we figure the feds aren't going to sue us when their own people screw up. I might be wrong. We'll see. Let's see, anything else in there? Oh, education. So this year, the Rec Trails Plan, for some reason, decided it'd be a great idea not to fund Tread Lightly, not to fund the Nevada Outdoor School, because their interpretation of the Code of Federal Regulations is unique to Nevada. None of the other states are doing it that way. So they didn't get funded, which means that we needed to pick up the slack a little bit. We're not out there teaching kids or whatever, but any place where we can pull a little bit of the weight off of them and get their message out, that's what we're doing. And if they do need us to show up for a class or whatever, we'll do it and be smiley and bring them like big fancy toys, like out to Sand Mountain for the helmet thing. It's that partnership and consistent message. Talked about the NEPA that we've at least read, if not outright commented on. Yeah, we've done a couple. 460 of them in the last 18 months. Actually, like 462. Again, from our perspective, planning is always right in the middle of the Sisyphean scale. A lot of these plans are going to come out, and I'm not going to be happy with what they do. But we knew about it, so we're not going to be blindsided. But we still miss things. So if anybody sees something going on in their neck of the desert and you don't know what it is, let me know. Because if we don't already know about it, I want to know about it. So this is, I think, my last slide, pretty much. Talked about the instance where the trails have been removed from inventory and we're not allowed to ride on them, and it took us a bit over a year to get it fixed. Alexis said to me, "You should be really happy." I'm like, "I am happy." She goes, "Yeah, the Matthew excitometer's off the scale." I'm not a smiler. I'm not a real emotional guy. But like Sisyphus, the one thing about Sisyphus, which I adore, for eternity he pushes that boulder up the mountain, knowing that it's going to go back to the bottom, and he goes right back down, he gets behind and does it again. And he does it again. And he does it again. And he never complains. I leave Sisyphus at the foot of the mountain. One always finds one's burden again, but Sisyphus teaches the higher fidelity that negates the gods and raises rocks. He too concludes it all as well. The universe henceforth without a master seems to him neither sterile nor futile. Each atom of that stone, each mineral flake of that night-filled mountain in itself forms a world. The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine this is happy, and he is, and so am I. Thank you. I'll take questions anybody has any. Good. Yeah. So, in the pecking order of perfect world importance, clubs that have bylaws, that have appointed leadership, and hopefully are incorporated either as a nonprofit or an LLC, somehow or other are a functional entity, are number one. And that's only because if I go to meet with Dr. Titus, I can say, Senator, these 700 members from these two clubs are concerned with XYZ. Same thing with Congressman Eminem. I can go to Mark's office and be like, come on, guy. If you have a Facebook group that has 25,000 followers, that's great. But how many of those people are just kind of passing through and are generally engaged? And the numbers tend to be very, very low. In our perfect world, we would take all the social media and turn those into formal groups, but that's never going to happen. Generations are different. And why that is important, unfortunately, and it is not happening, is that stewardship component. I learned to snowmobile from Al Nasser. Okay, nobody knows Al. Just died, I don't know, last summer at like 97 years old. Complete wild man on a snowmobile. But he taught us kids, all of us in the neighborhood, how to ride and to ride with respect. And why you don't behave poorly when you're on the trails. Also learned how to do maintenance on vehicles from same people in that same club. You don't get that in a social media group. You know, it's we're meeting at the truck stop, let's go for a 90-mile ride, and the educational background of the rider and their stewardship values are probably equal to the amount of time that it took them to swipe their credit card or sign that finance agreement when they bought their buggy. That's it. And the proof of the pudding on that is look at Moab, Utah. Moab right now is just having a major problem both with their land management, their resource and travel management. They're doing some reallocation of trails, closing trails. And a lot of that is because not the tourism that goes there with their own equipment that knows how to ride necessarily, although they are part of the problem. The problem is the rental companies. They literally rent you a buggy, gas, brake, seatbelt, helmet, see you later, and that's it. And their entire training program ends when they enter, when they leave the property. And that's a problem, because they don't have those stewardship values. They don't actually know what it means, why it's important to stay on the trail. Sean, during the mining thing yesterday, it's amazing. He's like, yeah, you might cut this trail a little bit close, because there's a big old shrub there. You don't know if that's a big open hole right behind you. That kind of stuff doesn't convey. So getting that transfer from, of knowledge is missing. However, one of the reasons that we brought Britt on to our board of directors is that's right up his alley. He is very much into that part of Nye County and their social media, and he is adamant both about the safety issues that we have, the land use issues that we have, and he's also well respected in the local community. So we did that intentionally, and we sought out somebody that could do that. Anybody else? All right, so go get coffee, go have extra donuts because we've got more than we need. And then we're going to set up for the panel. And when we're done with that, before we get at the end of the panel, we'll talk a little bit about the ride and go from there.
All right, guys, we're going to get started here in a couple minutes for our next session, which is our leadership panel. So if you want to top off your coffees, grab a little more sugar, and then make your way to the front of the room, that would be fantastic.
I'm like, which email?
Right.
There's 7 accounts.
I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I went over there to sign up on one of their lists. And like you tended to do, I put AOL.com, like, well, there's a first year flashback.
Oh, no. My personal one is still Hotmail. But anytime I want to feel real old, I'll go ahead and pull up Hotmail. Sad that I just still keep up with it though, because that's where like my most of them probably already have, but that's all like the stuff that like matches just to love probably. Oh yeah. No, I agree. It's very privileged. Red Lightning has like an iPad now that I take my notes. And people just fill it out on the iPad and hit submit. That's how it's I like Jotboard because like I don't even need a smile and then it'll just upload everything away and then as soon as I hit next it catches it so so I can be out at a race or wherever. But what I like about Smart Waiver is if we have a metal curiosity that we put up and races and people they haven't done it up in time, they can sit there and just do it and photograph which is really wow. So I think that goes importantly so that we should have it.
All right, if everybody can take their seats, we're going to get started here.
Yeah, exactly. I always feel like there's an interesting relationship. Yeah, they've got really smart with that stuff. It's like, oh, you did that. Waivers are so, I stress about like, there's no way you're going to be doing something that's actually going to cover everything.
Okay, so for the next hour, we have the privilege and honor to hear from this prestige panel, and we are going to be discussing what leadership looks like from these various perspectives of expertise, vision, and connection to the off-road community. So how this is going to work, I'm your moderator, Alexis Nelson, and I will introduce the panel. We have Garrett Tamani. Yes, he works for the Lieutenant Governor's Office. And we have Denise Baranio, who is the administrator for Endor. And we have Melanie Urquiaga. Yes. I'm like, no. Can I get a brief, how to say your last names? Urquiaga. She is the executive director of the Nevada Outdoor School, and we have Ken Ravago. Ken is a commissioner on the Nevada OHV Commission. So I have put together some questions, and I will be asking these questions, and we will begin the discussion. And I think what we'll do is we'll just open it up to questions, not at the end, but just during, because I think I do better with an interactive. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and feel free to, obviously I will help facilitate, but feel free to interject whenever you see fit. So let's begin with Denise. Denise, what do you think are the biggest policy challenges facing the off-road recreation community in Nevada?
Thanks, Alexis. I'd like to start by saying to Tammy from BLM, please don't call her office after I speak of what I'm about to say. The local BLM offices don't have control over my comment here. So BLM will be releasing 31 million acres of public lands over 11 different western states available for solar development over the next several years for expanded production. The public-facing statement for this is that the solar projects are going to be targeted towards areas with high solar potential and low wildlife and land conflicts. So this plan will affect 12 million acres in the state of Nevada, twice that of Utah. For solar development. So you can imagine how our public lands are already checkerboarded throughout the state and how that will affect more areas for public land use going forward. The Department of Interior released their notice of availability, the NOA, on the BLM website, and it is open right now for any protest or public comment about the use of this land, and that will close September 30th. So I would encourage you, if you have any insight or comments that you'd like to make about how that land is going to be used going forward for massive chunks of solar fields, that you can go to the website to make your comments there by September 30th. So as most of you know, Nevada is about 70.2 million acres. So even though public lands is about 80% of that, 5% of that is now going to be used for renewable energy. So again, doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put 12 million acres into perspective all across the state, I think that's going to be a really large impediment on our ability to have OHV use, among other things that have to do with outdoor recreation. So if you put into perspective that there's a site in northern Las Vegas that is 640 acres, is the largest solar field down there. Not to mention that if you have heard the term of heat islands, the average increase of heat in those areas is about 7 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the areas around it. So it does affect wildlife. The ground underneath the solar fields doesn't get to cool at night like the rest of the land. So do a little research. I would encourage you to make a comment on BLM's website. Again, don't call Tammy. Not her fault. You're welcome. This is the Department of the Interior has made this decision. It's not our state, it's not local BLM. But it is your opportunity to have a comment and a say in how these lands are going to be utilized going forward. And for me, 12 million acres is a lot of property that's going to affect our outdoor recreation use.
Thank you for that. So what I hear you say is get involved, and if this is something that you have an opinion on or you just want to share your comment, to take advantage of that public process and share those comments with the BLM by, you said, September 30th? Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm in Esmeralda County, and we had constituents and residents approach us, and we actually, as the commissioners, not me, but the commissioners also put it on the agenda to do comments on behalf of its residents as well. So I'd say go to your commissioners or your elected officials and ask for their support too, because it looks good that everyone's putting in comments.
100% agree with you. So reach out to your state assemblymen, your senators, to Cortez Masto's office, to Rosen's office, to Amadei's office, to Senator Lee's office, and let them know that what your feelings are. If you're in opposition of this, or if you feel this is far too much land to be releasing in our state for renewable energy, I think you only have till September 30th. After that, it's not gonna matter how you feel. So make sure and make public comment now.
Well, and just to reiterate what Senator Titus shared with us yesterday about, like, reach out to them. That's what they're there for. They are there to represent this community and its residents, so use them as an ally. Does anybody else want to comment on the biggest policy challenges? Melanie?
Sure. Again, for me, you guys have heard this a few times, but for us, it's potentially a youth helmet law in Nevada. And it was really inspiring yesterday to see the actual results of the surveys we've been putting out there, and that most parents, 92% of parents that we have surveyed do support such a law. I think our legislatures feel a little differently, that we don't, want to be told what to do, sort of thing here in Nevada. But I think it's ripe for policy change now as things are moving forward. So I'd love to see a youth helmet law for kids under 16. And then the other thing, I don't know if it's policy or maybe priorities that I've seen shift that has been very concerning to Nevada Outdoor School, is outdoor education, or more specifically safety education. The tread lightly principles and what we constitute as our action impact choice. It doesn't seem to be as much of a priority as trails and facilities. Everything, a lot of, especially the federal funding right now, is about trails and facilities. And I understand that they need maintenance, they need new facilities and a lot of things. But without education, in my view, those trails and facilities that are having so much investment in them are going to continue to get trashed and vandalized until people are educated. So I hope that education raises its head a little bit and becomes a little bit more a priority, and indoor is the start of that. But what I've been experiencing is now a couple of these federal agencies are pushing us, Nevada Outdoor School, away and saying, no, your education, you need to go to indoor, which is great, and they're right. But indoor's pool of money, grant funding right now, is not near what these other federal things are, and it's going to take a really long time to build that up, and it's going to take a really long time for Nevada Outdoor School to replace that, almost $200,000 that was expected for this next year. That they're just like, no, sorry, we've got to put it into trails and facilities. So for us, education being a priority is a big thing.
Excellent point. To speak a little bit more about that, the Tread Lightly and the Nevada Outdoor School historically have applied for funding through the Recreational Trails Program, and this year there was a shift and they did not receive the fundings to fund some of these educational programs. So this would require, I don't know if it's a policy change, but it's more like a rule through how the funds are distributed. So that is definitely a challenge for the state moving forward.
Yeah, so for instance, Rec Trails Program, only 5% of their funding goes towards education. That's only $60,000 of $1.2 million.
Anybody else?
I would just add, as far as grant applications go, I would encourage folks who have applied for maybe repeated grants to fund some of their programming, to maybe spice it up a little bit, change a little bit, tweak how you're applying for that grant, because repetitive grant processes tend to be denied to give opportunity and way to new grant opportunities. So if you're applying for something over and over again, maybe elaborate a little bit more on how else those funds are going to be used, and I think that'll give you a better opportunity for receiving those grant funds in the future.
Any questions? Okay. Let's move on to the second question. How can the off-road community prepare and adapt to the changes in policies and land use? I'm going to direct this question to Melanie.
Prepare and adapt, is that the question?
Yes.
I think safety education again, being a priority, and again against the, not against, but as important as trails and facilities, or at least a little bit more. The other one that is challenging for us, I think as the off-road community and also as a grant recipient, and this is a little bit towards BLM, and again, please don't call Tammy's office or Paul's office, but things tend to go away and never come back, kind of thing, right? So public land closures, when they do happen, supposedly they're temporary, and then they either don't get the attention they need or whatever the thing may be, they don't open again. Same thing with recreation funding. So I live in the Winnemucca district, and we all know that the Winnemucca district is unique with Burning Man and the recreation fees that come from Burning Man. For years, Nevada Outdoor School was a recipient of that, some of that funding, because we did a lot of stewardship and education work out in the Black Rock Desert. Well, there was it was about 6 years ago, there was a congressional inquiry on that funding of where it was going. So they froze it. We've never seen it again. It's never been unfrozen. So what happened there, it's the same thing, like it gets taken away and it temporarily, and it doesn't get given back. And that's concerning.
Anybody else want to speak about preparing and adapting to the change in policy? Oh, we have a question? Question? Yes, please, speak.
Not so much a question, but a comment. Programs like the Nevada Outdoor School, they are very important in the Black Rock Desert. And, they have done a great service, or, I've watched the things that they've done and the education that they've done with our children out there. And it's very important, and it's really sad to see that they no longer have that partnership with the Bureau of Land Management, because they were a key component to many activities out there. And they really, the youth is where we need to be looking at. Now we have that big gap where the role that Nevada Outdoor School used to play out there in the education of not just people who live in that area, but people who recreate in that area. And it's very important that we are, let them know that those things are out there, and they spread the word for other visitors who come out. So I'm really sad that, Nevada Outdoor School doesn't have a big presence in that area like it used to.
Thank you for that comment.
I can just add real quick that, the question was about how you can advocate for better access, and then this would be a reason to call Tammy's office and to, try and create partnerships, not everybody, to try and create partnerships, not with just BLM, but state parks, U.S. Forest Service, create those partnerships now in a thoughtful and suggestive manner so that when you do have permits to ask for or access to request, that you've already had that relationship and know the right people to communicate with. I think constant communication, don't just call them when you need something. What can we do for BLM too? How can we help them with cleanup or with issues about access in areas where they don't want it? We need to be advocates also to help them help us. So I think that reaching out to your local offices is really important. If that's unsuccessful, you can reach out to the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation. The Lieutenant Governor's office is a great resource. The Lieutenant Governor does sit on the advisory board for outdoor recreation. He's very passionate about it. So again, reaching out to your assemblymen, your senators, create relationships now so that you're just not knocking on someone's door when there's a problem. You can be the solution first before you're trying to figure out, crash course on how to make something happen after it's already been done. So I would encourage building relationships now and making them strong so that when you do have an issue that you need to address, that hopefully it's a little bit easier.
I just wanted to add that, Denise said call your representatives. Please call the Lieutenant Governor's office. A lot of people don't know what we actually do, and we don't get a lot of calls, so we can do a lot of help. There's been a lot of great examples of people just reaching out to us, and we've been able to, even if it's something that's not necessarily within the jurisdiction of our office, we know who to call, and we can get you in touch, and it carries a certain weight when we get the Lieutenant Governor to call and make that ask. We've also been talking about education a little bit, and I just wanted to say that Denise has been working really hard The lieutenant governor only gets 3 bills for the legislative session. Legislative session only comes around once every 2 years, and one of our bills in this coming session is going to be for outdoor education to make sure that our young people, our students in Nevada are learning how to be good stewards of the land, are learning about the environment around them, and hopefully that goes a long way.
Good morning. First of all, sitting from this vantage point, I just want to show some gratitude for this beautiful venue we're in. If you could just see like the balcony area and what's back here, or who's back here. Just an honor to be on this panel. And before I answer the question, I just want to thank a few people. Sheriff Cullen, what's such a beautiful city. Virginia City has amazing service, whether it's at the hotel, at the bars that we've frequented, enjoyed some nice drinks at a discounted, very fair rate. So just to spend some money, enjoy the city, keep coming back, because Virginia City is just an awesome place. So, in addition, I wanted to thank the commissioners that are here. I mentioned Sheriff Cullen, Vice Chair, Bob Adams, in the third row, and Commissioner Easton's been back and forth, and our new program coordinator, Kaden Barmore, who's probably taking a call or something. So, in regards to the question, I heard safety, education. I kind of want to take a different spin on this. I think it's curiosity. We talked about this before the panel started, and as little kids, you're so curious, you ask, why? Well, as adults, I think we should be equally curious, especially in the off-road community. Matthew alluded to that point where the BLM brainstorming sessions, if you will, led by the University of Colorado. We should have, once we heard about that, we should have cast the widest net possible. And I know social media for the negative, there's a lot of positive. Some of the groups that aren't organized clubs, the message should have been spread out far and wide that these sessions were going on. The do-gooding that the National Conservation Rayets Group, again, there's so many acronyms here and I'm gonna do an acronym quiz in a minute, but just all the various groups that do the good things, the organized clubs. As off-roaders, we have to be super curious, inquisitive, and just challenge and question, and again, get the message out in any format we can, whether it's picking up the phone and making a call, sending an instant message, blasting it on Instagram, social media, Facebook, which I'm sort of proud of this. I'm now Senator Titus's Facebook and Instagram buddy. She liked my post at the gym this morning at Divide Fitness. Again, another plug for the city of Virginia City. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. I think from this perspective, I think getting curious and asking questions, sometimes we lose that because we just assume that this is just how it's going to be, but sometimes just that asking the question sparks more brainstorming and, oh, I didn't think of it that way. So I think getting curious and just asking questions in a curious way and not a offensive way, it's all about the approach, is really helpful. But I also just want to highlight in building relationships, because this is what it's all about. And when we approach a relationship, it's instead of I need this from you, like Denise, you were saying, how can I help you? Like, how can I provide value to this situation, or how can I provide value to this problem? How can we help you? And so approaching it from that aspect is definitely the icebreaker in creating these important partnerships and relationships. Okay, I think we touched a little bit on the question, how can the off-road community effectively advocate for access? So I think I'm going to move on to the next one. So how can our leaders inspire off-roaders to become more proactive from getting involved in their local clubs, communities, and have their voices heard? So I'm going to direct this question to Ken, because he is not only a commissioner on the OHV commission, but he's also a very active
member of the Dunes and Trails Club.
Thank you, Alexis. So again, I'm going to acknowledge a few more people. I have our president, Ken Deutsch, in the second row here. This means a lot to us because we've had 3 summits that I've been a part of, and just recently, well, through the last couple of years with the ambassador program with Riyadh, the involvement in the from our club has just increased tenfold. We have Bruce Kester, who's in charge of our videography, social media, all around. Great guy. He's also illegally parked in front of the courthouse. So Sheriff Cullen, you know. And I already forgot the question. So how can we inspire off-roaders to become more proactive from getting involved in their local clubs, communities, and have their voices heard? You know, it's very interesting. At Summit, I talked to a lot of the dealers in the Las Vegas area, and like Matthew again alluded to earlier, you pick out a machine, right, and it's $45,000, and the sales guy says, hey, you can have this on 755 easy payments, and you sign the paperwork, you get the financing, and where do you go? What do you do? Where do you ride? So I think all of us, on the dealership level, do they have a responsibility to make a few recommendations to some clubs, some organizations, our off-highway vehicle website that has the great mapping, that shows the spirit of Nevada, all the cool places you can ride and learn some history. I think we all have a responsibility to, again, spread the message of how you can get involved, get plugged into a club. Our club is probably one of the highest memberships. It's a $50 a year membership to get in, and we always joke, it's $50 to get in, you buy the $45,000 car, and then you buy the $150,000 toy hauler and the $100,000 truck. I mean, great for the economy, right? But the club does so much for you. You build lifelong relationships, you build great connections. So I'm a big proponent of clubs, organizations, because the club is a conduit to all the other things. You know, all the other, without the club, I would have not known what OHV meant, what NEPA meant, what FOIA meant, what SRP, RMP, DCNR, VVRW, SHPO, LIPO. There's so many acronyms, but it was like the gateway to all of this information. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Sure, I would say, again, leading by example and joining those clubs, right? Us as an off-road community, or us as leaders. Matthew's great about it, right? He's joined every single club that he can in the state to keep abreast of what's going on. And while you're there, help with those stewardship activities. I think that, number one, it's good for the land, it's good for what we're doing, but I think it's also good for the soul, right? And it keeps you, I think, actively engaged when you're able to actually do something good with it, you know, so helping organize those sort of things. The other thing for me is to promote that registration, right? That's how we get our grant funding, that's how we get to do what we do and how we continue to do it. But we have to continue to promote that registration, and for a while, you know, you'd have these VIN inspections and registration drives and stuff. Well, that kind of VIN inspection's kind of out the window now that most everybody's, you know, newer machines and that sort of thing. But advocating for those registration dollars and speaking of the positives that come from it, right? That this isn't just going into a government hole that just gets, you know, dumped into somebody's salary somewhere. It really is going back to the community. And Senator Titus asked me that just yesterday. Are you getting funding from this? Because I've actually tried to get rid of this. You know, I didn't believe in the OHV commission. And I answered her honestly, and for us at Nevada Outdoor School, since its inception, it's been over $300,000 to support what we do. So if we don't advocate for those registration dollars and continue to encourage people to not only do it the first time, but to renew it year after year, so that funding remains. So I think we all have a part in that to continue to promote that and tell the good story of where these registration dollars are going. And some of it's, you know, to the sheriff's offices, and, you know, to simply is to get a machine to be able to get to somebody in a remote part of this county. You know, that's a good thing.
I'll add really quick. I'd like to make a suggestion to the OHV community. The state of Nevada has what's called a shared stewardship agreement. That agreement is with state, local, and federal agencies throughout the state. It's a signed agreement. U.S. Forest Service, BLM is part of that, state parks, Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation, National Park Service. So we've all made a commitment to each other, and NDOW is also on there. We made a commitment to each other to, instead of work against each other and say, this project's mine, you don't get to be part of it, we work together, we share resources, we share funding, we share time, we make sure that we have strategic planning efforts in place when projects are started so that we're not working against each other and wasting money, which has happened for decades, especially at the state level. I would encourage the OHV community to start a shared stewardship agreement between partners and stakeholders where you have a signed agreement that says you will work together to try and make more funding resources available and share those funding resources where it makes sense so that when you come to things like education, maybe one education grant can fulfill a lot more than just one area. Or just, the outdoor school, because you guys are working together and using your resources, maybe even grant resources together. So I would encourage a shared stewardship agreement. Endor's doing this at the community level to get communities to write shared stewardship agreements for the same reason, because planning efforts, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, we were already planning that trail. That's our trailhead. We're already doing a kiosk. Well, if you talk to each other and have an agreement that you are going to make sure and make those plans together, it's an opportunity to save money and time and effort and be cohesive, where maybe it wasn't happening before.
That's an excellent point, and I think that we as Navora, that is part of our mission, is to be the connector, the conduit between the local clubs and communities and our partners. It's just a matter of how do we get to more people? Like, how do we get more people to come to Summit so they do learn about these resources and opportunities and partnerships and potential relationships? So this is something that we are working on. Okay, anybody else want to add to that? And I also want to add to what Ken spoke about with reaching out to your local dealership. I mean, when you think about it, that's like the first point of contact when somebody purchases and they get into off-roading, they go to their dealer, they get all set up, and it's like, that's where the relationship is really important between the local club and the dealer, because then the dealer can say, hey, why don't you, there's this local club, and here's an opportunity to meet other off-roaders, there's other education opportunities. I know some of the clubs in here provide a lot of these services at a very low cost of membership, and plus it's community, and it is something like what Melanie was talking about. It kind of hits your heart, and it's purpose. So, I mean, I know a lot of people are craving that, and in a time when we're all connected, sometimes we feel disconnected. So, yes, take a question.
So I just like to comment on that for a second. In a completely different environment, I owned a pretty good sized fishing boat dealership for about 10 years, and as part of our process, we had partnerships with fishing guides, fishing clubs, large tournament organizations, so tournament pass boats. And we looked at it as a really good partnership for us as a business, right? Because they brought us customers and we brought them members. And I mean, I actually think if you're not reaching out to off-highway vehicle dealers now, that's a huge mistake, a huge opportunity for the dealer as well. It's a real easy. Having been on that end of the relationship, I can tell you it's a real easy sell. Because you're basically saying, I'm going to produce marketing. I'm going to build trust for that guy who walks in the front door. So now we're not doing that. We should.
Jim, that's an excellent comment. And in the back, you and I have discussed, and we may have to. I think the mantra or the question is, and we'll get into grants in a moment, what gets tracked gets managed, right? And with that idea of yours, I would like to, I think collectively we would like to be able to track once that person or that family buys that rig, that car, that machine, how they heard about these clubs, how they heard about these groups that have great off-highway vehicle habits, who carry the garbage bag in the back of their rig to pick up the trash, the Modelo, the Corona, the Bud Light that people carry. No, I think that's a great point, and I want in the following questions. I think your analytical mind on how to track a lot of these grant projects and measure the productivity and the involvement, I think it'll come into play. So I just wanted you to remember the question we had in the back for the future questions. Does that make sense? All right, thank you.
And then I'll plug just really quick for those dealers that should also be doing is making sure that those people that are buying those machines are learning how to ride it safe and smart. So they should be, we have those coupons for the free online course. That should be a minimum. They should be promoting that as well as safety courses as well.
Perhaps that's something that Navora could facilitate, is putting together a package of all of the resources. I don't know, do we have this? I was gonna say the package of resources and submit it to, or circulate it to all of our dealers within the state, with our partners, with the registration. Matthews. All right. Okay, Robert.
The dealerships and the tourism agencies and the RV parks, et cetera, are always asking for maps. Especially the older folks, they want paper maps. It's not available anymore. Forest Service used to give them out, but they stopped doing that 10 years ago. It'd be great to have a map source that would cost a lot of money.
Well, we had the Nevada Trail Finder. That's a excellent resource. I mean, everybody's going to digital just because it's. Yes, it's.
Still have it,
Hey, listen, I have a gazetteer of every state that I've lived in, and I still have the pile, and I have the gazetteer in my car, well, not this one, but in our truck of Nevada, so I hear you on the maps. There was another question.
Yeah,
Ashley.
follow up with the shared stewardship agreement. I just did a quick search online. If there's like a template or best practices, follow-ups, things like that, like have that in a resource package or have available either to myself or just come on the commission website, I think it'd be really powerful so clubs can go and pick that up and then plug and play, because I think that's important as an action step.
The shared stewardship agreement that I'm developing for communities, I'm happy to share that roadmap when that's done. It probably won't be till December, but it's just a really simple outline about how to share partnership and stakeholders and hold people accountable who are part of that agreement so that everyone is working together.
It'd be really great if it was OHV specific, like some of the deliverables and different parameters that have to check with you, what that actually looks like.
Absolutely, I'm happy to tailor that to the OHV community also.
I have a note. Ken?
Hi, Ken Ingram with the Plain Mountain Trail Association, addressing the paper map issue in this area. I don't know about the other districts. The BLM office in Carson City has two maps. One of them is for the Pine Nuts area, basically, and the other is the Reno area. The paper map's very good on the trails. When I first started this many years ago, I got one and it got me started. So my check here is local BLM office.
If I could add to that, every BLM office has those maps.
I was hoping.
Yep, around the state.
Only had experience
Yep.
with cars.
Yep.
We have Jeff?
Yeah, I started a UTV rental business, and as part of my model, I make sure to educate them on the trail systems we have available, and I partner with BLM down in California know where they're going, they know safety with the helmets and the goggles, and they know good stewardship, because I tell them that as well. But the BLM down there is actually very, very pro OHV, because they hold a lot of races down there. They're very easy to get along with, so use them. They're really good.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on. I'm going to direct this question to Garrett. Please share a successful example of a partnership or experience you've had with the off-road community.
Yeah, so in addition to being the chairman of the Outdoor Rec Advisory Board, like Denise mentioned, the Lieutenant Governor is also the chair of tourism in Nevada. I see the Get a Little Out There shirt. So he's made it a point over the last 2 years to travel to all 17 counties in our state and to not only showcase the tourism destinations, but also the outdoor recreation destinations. And we spent some time in Moapa Valley a couple months ago. There was a great group down there, Ultimate Desert Adventures, I believe their name was, and they took the Lieutenant Governor and us and Assemblyman Toby Urich out on a guided trip through the BLM land, and really beautiful area. We had a great time. Well, we got back to Carson City and we got a call from the outfit that took us out, and they were having an issue getting a permit through the BLM to offer an actual, pay-for-guide service. So we wrote a letter to the director of the Nevada BLM, Director Raby. Raby? I knew you'd know the pronunciation. We wrote a letter to them, and now they're on their way to getting that permit. So it was really as simple as asking the Lieutenant Governor to sign a letter, and we were able to get something moving for those guys. So if you run into similar issues, don't be afraid to reach out to us or any other elected official. I think they're quite a bit more accessible than we typically think they are, and ask for help and get that help.
So with my work on the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicle Commission and an active club member of the Dunes and Trails in Las Vegas, this could be a whole segment on partnerships, but I'll name a few. Who's been out to the, or knows of the Logandale Trail System out in Las Vegas? Very nice. It's a great riding area. So for the last 2 or 3 grant rounds, I believe the Vegas Valley Four-Wheelers, which is actually a Jeep club of 120 plus families, has applied and was awarded a grant to do stewardship cleanup projects out in the Logandale Trail System. So in conjunction with a lot of other user groups, the Dunes and Trails, a Jeep club and a UTV club can coexist. We can like each other and not fist fight or thumb wrestle. So Kevin, how many tons of garbage do you think we've taken out?
We probably pull 5 tons every National Public Lands Day, and that organized cleanup, and probably at least a ton or 2 will do the spring cleanup, just within the Logandale Trail System.
Do you guys think that's a win? Right? So Rayette Martin, we have a few ambassadors now here in the room with the cultural preservation. Again, you had a great presentation yesterday. I can think of a dozen ambassadors within our club who are now mindful and watchful of artifacts, and we're not sharing where these places are, but now we have our senses heightened as to what to do and how to react to when we come upon these sacred grounds or things of that nature. I can think of out in the Nelson, Nevada riding area, in conjunction with BLM, who's out there helping us pick up the hot tub that was dropped off by an illegal dumper. Shame on you. Deep freezer, blow-up doll, a mannequin, jet skis. So we partnered up with, so Navora was the conduit to get into Fox Racing Trail Trust grant. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Matthew, for helping us dot the I's, cross the T's. The BLM even came out to my house because you have to follow the paperwork, right? And I, being more technologically savvy, I guess, wanted to scan and email the document, and the guy said, no, you need a wet signature. So they brought the big truck to my house, I autographed the volunteer agreement, and we got the job done. People think that we just want to ride, rip up the trails. We had to turn away people in our club, right, Ken? We had to turn away people because we had so many go-givers, do-gooders who wanted to pick up trash on a Saturday. It was a blazing hot spring Saturday morning, and we picked up a lot of trash. So I think for the $1,000 volunteer in kind hours, there a lot of bang for the buck, and everybody left with a big smile on their face because they felt so good. I like that mantra, it's good for the soul. All of us are here, we could probably be doing things that are productive. This is productive, but we're all here, not for the money, but for a purpose. It really does feel good for the soul, doesn't it?
I'll share, and of course you guys know all about our youth helmet program and the success we're having with that partnership, but another one that's really been helpful to us, as people get trained and then they leave and they go on to do different things, you know, sometimes our institutional training and knowledge ebbs and flows a little bit, and it's been helpful for us to be able to lean on partnerships like with Navora to help us do the hands-on OHV safety courses. And like we're partnered with Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, right? Like we've got the ATV safety instructor and now a side-by-side, but they've got the dirt bike safety instructor, right? And same thing with Sheriff Cullen. Like they can do the dirt bikes and the UTVs, but maybe we can come in and help with the ATVs and that sort of thing. So knowing that we don't always have to be the expert and we don't always have to be the ones there doing it, but having partnerships to help each other out and be able to provide these sort of trainings and outreach is really helpful.
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but if the process to do a cleanup, approved or authorized cleanup, if there's any way to consider making that process a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more friendly, I guarantee you there would be more cleanups every year. We would, as Ken mentioned, the club actually likes to do those kind of things, and some of what holds us back is it's a bit cumbersome. Not that we don't like pushing the rock up the hill from Matt's presentation, but it's not always easy, and we have so many other things we're trying to coordinate, but we can't always give it the attention it needs in order to get out there and do something like that. So just a thought. I don't know. I recognize in the last day here we talked a lot about how there's a lot of bureaucracy, for lack of a better word, but if that process could be made easier, I guarantee you there'd be more cleanup.
Shared stewardship agreement. Yeah, I think that will help a lot actually, because it again commits groups and stakeholders, and you can plan your calendar out for an entire year, and so everybody knows ahead of time, hey, these are going to be the 10 days across the state where we're going to do massive cleanups in the middle of the desert. So I promise to make an OHV specific shared stewardship plan to help you guys format that.
Okay, moving on. How can we as the off-road community take responsibility for ourselves and our actions? I'm going to direct this to Melanie.
That is what we educate. Take responsibility for your actions. Take a safety course, right? I know a lot of us are veterans out there who have been riding for years and years and years, but if you stop by my booth table back there, I'll give you a free coupon. Take that online course. I promise you, you're going to learn something. Take that, follow the tread lightly principles when you're out there and advocate for that. Teach others while you're out there. And then also for us is thinking about the action, right? It's our education model. Analyzing actions, evaluating that impact, and then choosing wisely, right? So do you really need to have a campfire in the middle of the afternoon, in August or something, right? It raises that risk for that campfire to get away, right? Do I really need to drive all the way to the point, on that hill, or can I park on this existing road? and walk to that like we used to do back in the old days. So thinking about if our actions are really necessary, and then evaluating it, right? Sometimes they are necessary. For instance, it's very necessary for Sheriff Cullen and his side-by-side to get to that very point if that's where that person is hurt, right, or injured. But it's not necessarily necessary for us as the off-road community to continue to build those social trails or have risks for campfire getting out of hand. And then, yeah, just evaluating your own self and then choosing wisely. Again, sometimes the path to take is, through the mud, and yeah, you might get wet, but evaluating what the impact will be.
All great points. Just to add to that, like the book I purchased and many of you purchased in the last segment, This Is Our Land. And I think it's important to realize, and sometimes we forget, but at those BLM sessions of a month ago or a few weeks ago, we have to remember this is our land, and it's not just the off-roaders, it's the equestrian people, the mountain bikers, e-bikers, the hikers. So they all made their valid points as to the things that they see that the 10% of our group doesn't do well. And I think we need to take a moment just to listen to their vantage point. We don't want to be divisive. We want to, this is our land. I know it's cliche, or we're all in this together, and we're just so very blessed that, Denise, did you say it was 80 or 95% of 80% of Nevada is public land? And if you just ponder that for a moment, how lucky and blessed we are. And I'm not a native Nevadan, I'm a California kid from the San Francisco Bay Area that's been here 25 years, but when people move away, I'm in the real estate profession on a daily job, but when they move away, there are a lot of my off-roader friends, and they have to sell their machines because they move to Florida or other states that don't have what we have. We can protect access, and we can be responsible by using empathy and just recognizing all the other peoples that get to enjoy all our land. So.
All right, last question, because we are over our time. What is your definition of success when working with the OHV community? I'm just going to open up to anybody that wants to comment on that.
You had to go with the hardest question.
I'll add again more partnerships, right? Like Sheriff Cullen made a really great point the other day. Like if you're writing a grant and wanting to go to a certain area or do a certain thing, reach out. We all have each other's contacts now, right? Like he might like what we're doing and provide that letter of support. And I think the more letters of support we get for our programs and our projects, the better it is for grant writing, for sure. But it also is that duplication, right? That duplication of effort. Gosh, if you're already doing this, maybe I need to focus on another area or a different whatever. But if we all are communicating and we're supporting each other in writing as well as verbally, then we're going to have a better cohesive kind of, we're each taking up the slack where we can and supporting each other where we can.
I'll just be brief on saying this, that I think a unified front in the OHV community is something that we've started to see like in the hiking and biking community, where people are starting to share the same messaging. So make sure that you have a cohesive messaging among your groups, that everyone works together, that exclusion, I think, creates animosity, and it doesn't take much for one bad apple to spread a lot of bad information. So, as far as conservation and stewardship and safety and responsibility go, as Melanie was talking about, I think everyone in this room already knows what the picture of success looks like. You just have to spread the cohesive messaging. Everyone's working together, and so continue to make sure you're doing the good work, but do it as a team.
So I heard safety and partnerships. Just a quick story. We had late last year, we had a club ride, and we were supposed to be a 60-mile run, easy peasy, out in Cold Creek, Nevada. We had a gentleman make just a terrible user error, or, operator error, and put his machine on his side and had a very serious injury. The reason I bring it up is if it were not for the partnerships and the connections I've made through this community, as a club, I think he would have been a little worse off. And what I mean by that is the moment that he fell on his side, some of the training our club has been part of, the Stop the Bleed program, University Medical Center. We did have a nurse that was visiting that had happened to be there, but we were in such a difficult terrain that we had to have the Flight for Life come out. And at a moment, luckily we had cell phone signal, and I was able to make 2 calls. The first call was to Las Vegas Metro, Dana Piccarello, who I met through this commission. He did apply for a grant, and he was able to give me a few tips. I was able to call a helicopter pilot, and he, off duty, and he let me know that we'd need a radius area to have that chopper hit to pick up our guy. If it weren't for those connections, those partnerships, timing is everything. Could we have, and he's so thankful to this day for this community that we were there to help him. His family reaches out all the time to just thank our club for all the support, but we were prepared. You can never be too prepared, but we were super prepared and kept a level head, and we worked as a team. So again, that's just another point for partnerships. And again, for my second term as OHV Commissioner of the ATV section, and Sheriff Vice Chair Cullen and Commissioner Adams concur, safety is a big priority for us, and we just want to encourage more safety grants. Any grant that's in adherence with NRS 490, and to close on Jim's point, when these grant applications come, as commissioners, we have to score using a metric system and their point value. Going forward, I think we have to have more criteria to measure what these grants have actually produced to the off-road community. Jim, what is it? What gets? What you can measure, you can manage, right? And again, the question is about success. So success is a progressive realization to worthwhile goals. So success never starts. It's just little micro steps, like the guy going up the hill, Sisyphus. So.
I'd like to correct you, Ken. You actually made 3 phone calls that day to the desert.
I did, yes. You're one of my favorites, so.
I will say success is helmets on kids as the norm.
Does anybody have any questions, comments for the panel? Yes.
So, I'm just land user, right? I have no leadership responsibility here. I'm not associated with any organization other than ones I'm participating in. So, this is about leadership, and one of the things that I just wanted to tell you from my perspective is I just heard yesterday and today about millions of acres of land that is going to be potentially reallocated into that, right? Now, I heard about that sort of, but to me, if I was on your panel, like, would be an incredible call to action, right? Every stakeholder you have, be it dealers of equipment, off-road organizations, equestrian organizations, right? Every one of those has some stake in this. And I would expect this on every website, every social media platform. It's like I would expect that I would be bombarded with messages. I have 25 days left to influence them, right? And I haven't seen that. That's just flat out. I think that's a failure. I don't want to criticize.
It's a great point, actually. Happy to share with Navora the website address specifically for BLM, and we can just start pushing the messaging out for comments and public advocacy, not in favor of so much release of lands.
Yeah, and for clarification, that announcement came out 72 hours ago. We're not behind, just doing this.
Well, actually, the announcement, they were thinking that there was these, their discussions been for a while. I remember.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay. We had already participated in that going in. This is just their final, okay, we're done. Now we get one more chance.
Right, and my point is that everybody that's my seat, right, that is a user, not a leader, the user, needs to know that, because if I don't know it, I can't do it. There's only so many people in this room, there's a whole hell of a lot of us.
Yeah, I agree. The NOA just came out, a few days ago, so I didn't even know about it until I started, doing a little bit more research to give you guys some information. It's not like they publicly post to everybody, hey, we have an NOA for you guys to protest against. So great point, and I think that we can do some good work in the next day or two to really spread the word. Again, don't call Tammy's office.
Patty?
There's been so much information here today. Is there any way that you guys can put together a list of asks, like you've asked to, get ambassadors to sign petitions and things? Can you put that together for us so we have an action plan?
We can make that happen. I've been making notes, and I think between our team, we can make sure that it's been all put together. Yes, Kara.
Quick question. So, with a lot of the lands that are getting looked at for closed use of motorized access or closing the use of motorized access, is there talk or is there, research into what the disabled community would be able to do to get through to those sites if we no longer have the motorized access?
Are you specifically referring to the lands designated for release or other lands?
In general, I'm not going to be specific and give you a half example that I only half remember at the moment, but just very curious.
I would say for Endor, for the Nevada Division of Outdoor Recreation, it is a priority for us this year to help create better access just to outdoor recreation overall. For the ADA community, we have provided grants for upgrading ADA access, like to Red Rock, where BLM, is the land manager there. So you're more than welcome to reach out to Endor if you have specific areas of concern or want or need, or where you feel like there's gaps that just aren't being addressed. We're happy to hear what you feel about that.
Can I add to that? From a BLM's perspective, if there are barriers to access for specific reasons like that, it's always advantageous to reach out to the local office to the area that you're going to, because we do have exceptions in certain cases, even wilderness, non-mechanized travel for everyone unless you have, certain disabilities or needs. So there's always exceptions. I can't guarantee you're always going to get it, but yes, please reach out to the local offices if that is an issue.
And I want to provide myself as a resource. My organization put a press release in opposition to that, and we've done a deep dive on all the nuances. So if any group or organization needs help putting together a letter, I'm happy to be a resource for that.
Anyone else?
I want to just make a comment on it, not related to the land closures, but Melanie alluded to this, and Denise kind of did as well with partnerships and grants specifically. You guys have some amazing partners here in the
I agree with that. I just add real quick that another acronym for Ken, GOED, the Governor's Office of Economic Development in Nevada, is such a great resource for assisting with grant writing. They offer classes, they offer direct assistance, and they can also offer some insight into economic development opportunities for the OHV community to show how much that supports economic vitality for local areas.
Denise, I'm just going to correct you real quick. It's OFA, not GOED.
Huh?
OFA does that, not GOED.
No, Kristen at GOED offers.
Office of Financial Assistance, Office of Federal Assistance. Yeah.
Okay.
But they do that.
So, I just have a quick question. I'm a little confused. You hear about land being proposed for closure? That's what I've been hearing.
No, I think what they're talking about is where the New Western Solar Plan saying that that land is available for solar, then it's got to go through an individual application.
Yeah, those areas identified in the solar programmatic or tax statement will be made available for solar leasing. Individual site locations will have to go through the full open NEPA process, so open to the entire public. There's no site-specific areas that I'm aware of that are identified right now.
That's correct. There are no, I mean, I think there's a map of potential sites on the BLM website, but nothing has been identified or specified. But if you are in this room and would like to advocate for not closing 5% of land access in our state, then I would encourage everybody to go on and make their public statement. Yeah, you still have to go through the NEPA process and the environmental assessment and all of those things, which would also offer public comment opportunities. But at that point, the land's already been identified and you might be too late. I mean, public comment's always welcome, but that doesn't mean the government's going to listen to what we say. Just even though I work for the government.
That's stated the entire week.
All right, well, I just want to thank our amazing panelists. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, we could talk about this all day long, but thank you for sharing your expertise and your experiences with the off-road community. And I've written some notes down, some action items. I love call to action. So some of the commonality that I heard was communication, respect, unity, partnership, and this is what I know, speaking on behalf of Vora, that we are all about, and we're going to continue to grow and do the best that we can possibly do. And I just want to give a shout out to Matthew for his leadership and being the pioneer of Navora and leading this team, because it's not just me, it's also our board of directors and our partners. And so I just want to express my gratitude for you and facilitating and emceeing this amazing summit. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
We're set. If you can hang out there if you want. I've got about 2 minutes just to speak before you can punch. Bring it, lady. Yeah, I mean, no, by all means. I just want to speak really quickly about the public comment. So one of the things that you will see frequently, whether you are, I don't care, you're part of the Fish Finder Club or the NRA or whatever, right? So there's always opportunities to support or oppose any sort of legislative action. And often what you see is put in your name, put in your address, and they're going to autofill your comments, which you may never even bother reading, and shoot it again. But here's what happens with that. If the land managers who are doing the NEPA for the specific site withdrawal from public inventory get 500 letters that are the same, it counts as one. When we write a letter, we cite that we represent the 55 to 60,000 registered OHVs in the state of Nevada. Ours counts as 60,000. That's the weight. Now, I mean, I honestly know it's not logarithmic. They're not going to go, well, that's 60,000 people that say this. But one letter from us is going to count more than 100 letters that are identical from the end user. So this is very much part of the design of what we're doing, and like Denise was saying, she's exactly right about having, refresh my memory, what'd you call it, an agreement across stakeholders? Right, that's literally what we're doing. We're just calling it something different, and everybody here who was here all week saw that. That's why we had Nevada Cultural Preservation here. That's why we had the Wildwood Lands Foundation. We are already working like that. We're not naming it that way. We don't have it structured finitely. And I mean, I think we can still do that. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I know that we can do it. So with that, a big thank you to our panel, but a bigger thank you for all you folks that took the entire time out this week to come here and play. Last thing, because I can't do 2 minutes, I'm not allowed apparently. The last thing is that we are going to do the ride. It appears that we do have enough seats for everybody. We're going to meet down the hill at the Silverland Hotel parking. You'll see there's a great trailer. We'll have our trailer down there by then. We have helmets, we have seats. It's going to be a combination of all off-road vehicles, from trucks right on down. Are you motorcycling or are you UTV? But you have team on bikes? Yeah, so we're gonna full gambit except for quads. We have some Pine Nut guys coming up, which we're pretty happy about. So thank you very much. There are sandwiches out back still, so grab some lunch if you want. And other than that, we're done. We'll see you next year in Elko if we get funded.
And that concludes our week 4 sessions from the Nevada Off-Road Association's annual summit. Thank you for joining us this week, and it was a pleasure for me to broadcast this for you. So thank you, and as always, Desert Rider says, love you.